Good morning, students. Welcome to Class 10 Biology, Lesson number 10, Circulatory System Part 2. In our previous lesson, that is Circulatory System Part 1, we have already discussed blood and its components, that is, plasma, RBCs, WBCs, and blood platelets. In this lesson, we will discuss clotting of blood, blood groups, RH factor, and different types of blood vessels. We all know that we have a closed blood circulation, that is, blood moves in arteries, veins, and capillaries and never leaves it unless there is an injury. Suppose there is an injury inside our body or outside our body on the surface of our skin, do we bleed to death? The answer is no, because blood has a self healing material which helps to clog or close the injured tissue. Today we are going to discuss about the process of blood clotting or coagulation. What is blood clotting? Coagulation of blood at wound to prevent excess loss of blood is known as blood clotting. It occurs in the following steps which are given below. At the site of wound, that is at the site of injury, the injured tissue releases an enzyme called thrombokinase or thromboplastin. At the same time, the platelets disintegrate at the site and release the same enzyme, that is thrombokinase, also known as platelet thrombokinase. These two thrombokinase is released from the injured tissue as well as from the platelets. They combine with calcium ions and which is present in the blood plasma and convert inactive prothrombin, again present in the plasma, into active thrombin. This thrombin then act together with calcium ions, reacts with fibrinogen, again which is present in the plasma in a soluble state, and converts it into insoluble fibrin, that is small thread-like structures. These polymerize to form a network or mesh at the site, that is at the wound. Red blood corpuscles, blue blood corpuscles, and platelets get entangled in this mesh. This mesh then squeezes to release the rest of the plasma in the form of a clear fluid called serum. And the solid material which is left behind is called thrombus. Now let us go through the whole process once again quickly by looking at the flow chart. Injured tissue and the blood platelets both release thromboplastin or thrombokinase. This thrombokinase, together with calcium ions present in the blood, acts on prothrombin and converts it into active thrombin. Thrombin then acts on fibrinogen, which is in a soluble state, and converts it into insoluble fibrin. In this fibrin get entangled the blood corpuscles and form the clot. Now we come to the next topic, that is blood groups. Before I start this, I would like to tell you certain terms which you ought to know before you start studying about blood groups. First is antigen. Glycoproteins on the surface of RBCs are known as antigens. Antibodies. Gamma globulin proteins in the blood plasma are called antibodies. Another thing that you ought to know, antigen A and antibody B are antigen A and antibody A are incompatible. Similarly, antigen B and antibody B are also incompatible. When blood from two different blood groups A and B are mixed, clamping occurs due to antigen-antibody interaction. This is called agglutination or clamping reaction. Okay, with this in our mind, let us start blood groups. If you remember the movies in olden times, you will find that there is a partition and the donor is sleeping on one side of the partition and the recipient on the other side. A tube is connected from the donor to the recipient and the blood flows from the donor to the recipient. That's the way it used to be, and soon the recipient recovers. For a long period of time, this was what everybody thought, that all human beings have the same type of blood and anybody could be given any type of blood. But later on they found that in some cases the reaction was negative. That is, they didn't give, the person, instead of recovering, became more sick than what he was before the blood transfusion. Hence, the scientists got into thinking and they came to certain conclusions. They found that in human beings, blood can be divided into 4 groups: Group A, B, AB, and O. Group A, it had antigen A and antibody B. Group B, this group had antigen B and antibody A. Group AB, it had antigen AB but had no antibodies. Whereas Group O, it had no antigens but it had both the antibodies. You can clearly see this in the chart given alongside. Now let us see which blood group can be given which blood. That is, let us see the blood groups and blood transfusion. Blood group A, blood group A can receive blood from A and O, but not from B and AB. Blood group B can receive blood from B and O, not A and AB. Blood group AB can receive blood from all the blood groups. Why? Because it has no antibodies. And O group, it can receive blood only from O, and hence because it has both the antibodies but no antigens. That is why it is called a universal donor, and AB is known as the universal recipient. Now, after they had checked on the blood groups and were giving blood according to the blood group that was present, still in some cases reaction was seen. Once scientists were checking the rhesus monkey, the blood of the rhesus monkey, they found a certain type of additional protein which was found on the RBCs. This same protein was also found in most of the human beings. Since they saw it for the first time in rhesus monkey, they called it the Rh factor. Those people who have this protein are called Rh positive, and those people who do not have this protein are called Rh negative. If blood of an Rh negative is given to an Rh positive person, there is no problem, because they don't have the antigen present in them, hence there is no reaction that will be produced. But if blood of Rh positive is given to an Rh negative person, antibodies will develop in the body of the Rh negative person. The first transfusion, nothing will happen, because by the time the antibodies are produced, the RBCs are already gone to the liver for destruction. But in the second transfusion, the antibodies are already present in the body of the Rh negative person, and it will lead to agglutination or clotting of blood. Let us now discuss the blood groups and donor-recipient compatibility with Rh factor. The table clearly shows that O negative group can receive blood from O negative person only, but can give blood to all the blood groups. Hence, it is known as a universal donor. Out of O positive and O negative is the universal donor. Okay, because O positive person cannot give blood to O negative. Blood group AB can receive blood from all blood types. You can clearly see it there, but can give blood to only AB. Hence, it is known as a universal recipient. Is that clear, children? Okay, now let us proceed. Now we come to blood vessels. We have already studied or already know that human beings have a closed blood circulatory system. That blood flows in arteries, veins and capillaries. Let us see what these arteries, veins and capillaries are, their structure and their function also. Arteries. They are wide vessels which carry blood from the heart to different organs in our body. This is a very important characteristic feature of arteries. They always carry blood from the heart to any organ. They have a thick elastic muscular wall with a narrow lumen. Valves are absent in arteries because blood is flowing with pressure and force. Hence, they do not require any valves in them. All arteries except pulmonary artery carries oxygenated blood, and and blood flows in jerks in them. The walls of the artery are made up of 3 layers: tunica externa, which is made up of connective tissue, basically for protection; tunica media, smooth muscles and elastic fibers are present in it. It is quite thin in arteries; and tunica interna, which is made up of endothelium. Next we come to is veins. Veins carry blood from different organs to the heart. Remember this, children. They carry blood from different organs to the heart. They have thin, less muscular wall and a wide lumen. All veins except pulmonary vein carries deoxygenated blood. That means since they are bringing blood back to the heart, they usually have deoxygenated blood. They have walls in them because the blood is not flowing with force in them, which permits unidirectional flow of blood. That means blood to flow in one direction only, that is towards the heart. They have all the 3 layers, but tunica media is thin as compared to the arteries. Now, connecting the arteries and veins, we have a network of fine blood vessels called capillaries. Capillaries are very narrow tubes and its walls are made up of a single layer of squamous epithelial cells called endothelium. Tunica externa and tunica media are absent. Because they have only a single squamous epithelial lining, all the exchange of gases as well as nutrients takes place from the capillaries only. I hope you have understood what we have done today. Thank you. Take care of yourselves, follow anti-COVID-19 precautions, and God bless you all. We will meet again tomorrow in the interactive session. Hope you go through this video and come prepared with your doubts. Thank you and have a good day.